So, clinical postings, where all the textbook information pops to life in front of your very eyes, where you are considered a doctor by patients even though you're actually just a student. This is where your school becomes the hospital and where theory meets practical. This is clinical postings. Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Murari and I'm a third year MBBS student at NRI Medical College. If you don't know what a clinical posting is, basically it's this. You know how we have classes in the college, right? This is basically a class but in the hospital. We go to the hospital wearing our ID cards and aprons for 3 hours and we have to interact with the patients and learn how to take their history and listen to their complaints. If you ever see students in the hospital aimlessly wandering looking clueless, that probably is because they're stuck not knowing what to do in the posting. And that has happened to me a lot. If you are a med student, I'm sure you can probably relate. And usually after you're done taking the case and doing whatever you have to do, at the last hour of the posting, you'll have a class. That is usually what happens, but not in all postings. I'll get back to that later. Basically, around every month, 20 students or so are assigned to a specific department for their posting. So like some students will have surgery or orthopedics, pediatrics, gynecology, whatever it is. In my college's timetable, every morning at 8:30 to 9:30, we'll have a class. And then after that class, we'll go to the posting for 3 hours. After that, from 12:30 to 1:30 is lunch. And then 1:30 onwards, I like to call the sleep induction phase of our college because I think it's in the name. After eating lunch, we get all drowsy and all. For me and my batch, posting started in second year. I've heard previously it used to be like third year or something when you actually get this clinical exposure and made it so that we get to go and experience all this earlier. But back then it was so confusing. The first posting I had was ophthalmology and in my college it is pretty strict. People were actually scaring me and all because they were saying that we have to learn every day and do our homeworks every day and get it checked and all, and that sounded like a lot. But it was actually fun. No, and I'm not saying it's not strict because even though it was strict, it was actually fun because the subject was very interesting and the way that they taught, even though it was strict, made us learn new things every single day we went to the posting. There was a system that they followed where we had to sit in a certain place and then go and see a case every single day and report to them and then have a homework on the things that we don't know about so that we learn about them. Then I moved to another posting and then I realized that not all postings are the same. Each posting is different and they all have their own rules and methods, and also some that don't have any rules or methods in my opinion. Not going to say which ones. Some postings are very chill where we don't really have anything to do and also we're not expected of to do anything. Some postings you'll be individual, some postings you'll be grouped into units, some postings are strict and some postings expect you to do things without teaching you them. The point is, in every posting there is the potential to learn something new. I want to tell you guys what I like and don't like about these postings, because trust me, going to the posting is so irritating, annoying and frustrating at times. So here's what I like about postings. It's a chance for us to learn in every department how to apply our theory knowledge practically. We can develop our communication skills. Even if you're someone who doesn't talk and is an introvert or a sociopath or a psychopath, I don't know what you are, and you don't have a choice, it's mandatory to talk to the patient. I mean, what is your job going to be in the future if you can't do that as a doctor? We get to see a plethora of cases. You know how we've been reading till now, just seeing the textbook pictures and illustrations what are there, like this is for this disease. Now we get to see it in real life and in real time. And if we're very lucky, we get to go to the OT and see surgeries happening. And one more thing which I like is this is where we meet and interact with all of the people that are there, like the hospital staff, the juniors, the seniors. Everyone has to work together to build this level of healthcare. And this is what I don't like about postings. People always scold us, even if it's just for no reason. Sure, not everyone is like that, you might say, but in my experience, it's pretty common for it to happen and it feels very unjust and unfair. Where I learn, a lot of people don't just teach the way that you would expect. The only thing some people do is just ask questions to the students as a form of teaching. The entire class, either picking out one student randomly or just as a group. And I can't even tell the amount of times everyone just chants the answer and I'm unable to hear it. They'll ask the questions that we've never learned and they won't even teach the answer when we're not able to say it. I know it might sound to you as they probably want us to go home and learn about it ourselves from our own interest, but that is not the case, trust me. It actually feels like they're just trying to stall the time so that they get over the period and they can leave. And in my opinion, that is not teaching. Another thing that is just so frustrating is removing attendance. In my experience, I mean my personal experience, sometimes even though we don't do anything wrong, the professor or doctor might just remove our attendance just like that, just to teach us a lesson and make it a punishment. Or even if it's just one person's fault, they remove the whole group's attendance. I find that so unfair. And if you think that's unfair, sometimes they'll just say they'll remove it for 2 days or maybe even the whole week. And one of my personal examples out of a few is I was once listening to class after taking a case, and I was even answering the questions, or at least trying to. But the doctor or the professor there just randomly picked me out and then said that my attendance is cut. Without giving a reason or anything, I was just shocked, kind of. So I went after the class and then I asked why did they remove my attendance, and then they just said they thought that I wasn't listening and that I wasn't trying to answer the questions either. And there's no way I can even prove myself, so I tried to defend myself, but they just removed my attendance and said like, get lost. Like, what do I even do in that situation? I just have to give up my attendance for no reason when I came and I did everything I was supposed to do. It's unfair if it happens once, and it's just frustrating when it happens a lot. Another thing, every posting group will experience different conditions depending on the professors that come to you on that given time or date, and also the patients that come. That decides what kinds of cases you're going to see, right? Just for example, I didn't go to the OT or the operation theater in the surgery posting, whereas a lot of my friends did go. Why is that? Because I had a strict unit that wouldn't let us go to the OT. And even though we have OT in our schedule, even in that unit, they just saw me after like an hour of me attending the OT. They just told me to get out, and why did I come in the first place? Whereas one of my friends, or actually a few of my friends, in the same posting but a different unit, got to go to the OT whenever they had the OT day. It is really frustrating, and it feels like you have to be lucky in order to learn, and I really don't like that. Sometimes they just think that we are in clinical postings too early and we're too like junior to them to even pay attention to us at all. The most common and annoying thing is that we're always expected of things which we are never taught, and no one tells you anything. In some postings, by the way, not all. I'm just saying a disclaimer. Let me just tell you an example. On the first day of one of my postings, nobody in our batch knew what to do. There was literally nobody to tell us any instructions, and we didn't know where to sit or where to put our bags or anything like that. There was not a senior in sight to ask. We were just so genuinely confused, we just stood there and didn't do anything. Finally, I saw a senior and then I went up and asked them, what should I do? What should we do? And they told me even they don't know what to do, and just stand there and wait for 2 hours pretending like you're doing something until one lecturer comes to tell the class. And do not sit anywhere no matter what, and don't go into the demo room either. Otherwise you will be punished and they will remove your attendance or the whole batches. And I don't blame that senior for his advice. I really don't know what to do in that situation, and if he doesn't know what to do either, that is the situation of that posting and how it's organized. And after the professor came to us to take a class, they literally scolded us for not taking a case, and we didn't have the slightest idea of how to take a case in that posting. Last but not least is our phones. When we don't know where our posting mates are, or when we have to call them to a certain ward, or when we want to find out which ward to go to, or even to just ask instructions from the lecturer, we're not allowed to use a phone. How are we supposed to do any of these things without a phone? We just have to wander aimlessly, like I said before. It is such a ridiculous rule in my college. I understand it not being allowed in the college block, like where we have classes or in the gallery, but in the hospital, really? Even the PGs and doctors were also shocked when we told them that we don't have our phones, because sometimes they ask us to just call them, or when they tell us to read a case pro forma PDF, or they themselves want to airdrop us a certain textbook PDF so that we can read it, a certain topic that they want us to read. Literally at random times, the staff of the college will just come and then confiscate our phones if they see them. And sometimes they'll just put their hands in our pockets and then confiscate them. I mean, what are we, kids? Isn't this supposed to be a professional college? I mean, I feel this is a very basic thing in the hospital. And I know for a fact other colleges are not this strict with the phone. Not only in the hospital, but even in the college. And yes, again, trust me, I understand when it's fine about the college, but even the hospital. So anyways, if you were counting how many pros and cons were there, or how many positives and negatives, or even if you could hear the frustration in my voice behind this whole rant, then you could tell that the negatives kind of probably outweigh the positives. There are more things to complain about rather than to enjoy in the postings, is what I feel sometimes. But I don't really necessarily have a choice except to keep trying to see the good in it and keep trying to learn. Because no matter how irritating or frustrating it can be, I guess the most important thing is to try and learn in the posting. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next